What if you could turn your passion for helping others into a career that changes lives, starting with your own? Join Empower's Certified Professional Empower Coach Academy, accredited by the ICF and powered by Oregon State University. Our next cohort begins February 28th. Visit yesempower.com to reserve your spot today.
Welcome to Rewired. I'm your host, Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training.
Welcome to the Empower Rewired podcast. Today we're joined by Delma Castaneda, a high conflict divorce and co-parenting coach who supports moms navigating narcissistic abuse, rebuilding emotional resilience, and developing healthy co-parenting skills. Delma is the founder of Empowered Outlier and brings both lived experience and professional expertise to this deeply important work. In our conversation today, she shares what led her into this field, what she wished existed for women during her own journey, and how she's now helping others learn how to create their own best lives.
Delma, I'm so glad to have you here. It's a pleasure. I love the way we get to work together and the things that we get to do. And I know you very well through the Empowered lens. And it's been really fun as we've prepped for this podcast to go look at this whole other side of all of the amazing things that you do. And I'm excited for this conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Tiffany. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I love to begin every podcast when I have the honor of sitting down with folks and just asking what the word empowerment means to you. I particularly love this because your business's name has empower in it. My business's name has empower in it. We definitely feel connected to the word. And so I'm curious if you can tell us what it means to you. And then also any way that you've been feeling empowered in your own life lately.
Yes, well, for me, empowerment really is about owning our own agency. I think there's a lot of power in realizing where we have choice and where we have power, right? Like where we have the opportunity to make a change. Because oftentimes, like when there are challenges in life, we often feel helpless or powerless because there's like tunnel vision that happens. But once you fall back into your own agency, once you check in with, okay, this is the reality, what can I do?
Yeah.
That for me is like real empowerment.
Yes.
And I guess like in my own life, I think with my health journey, it's been really empowering to really search for answers to my health challenges instead of staying in a place of, well, this sucks. Well, I can't do this now. Well, I'm in so much pain, or this medication isn't working and the doctors are not listening. So it's easy to stay there when it feels hopeless. But, when you can drop into empowerment and ask, okay, what else is out there? What am I not seeing? What can I research? What can I learn? And who else is out there that can kind of guide me on this path?
Yes. Yeah. I love that word agency connected to empower because it can also feel vulnerable to have agency. I mean, it really is. Sometimes it feels safer to say, well, this is somebody else's job and that sucks that they're not figuring out what it is. And what you're talking about is really stepping into that and owning it, and along with the vulnerability and all of those things. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
It's
so
the
good.
challenge of taking responsibility for ourselves.
Yes. Ouch.
Yes.
Well, so thinking about taking responsibility for ourselves. So you are a post-divorce and co-parenting coach. And I want, before we dive into all of the details and all the questions we have, I'm hoping you can just set the platform for us. What does that mean?
Yes. So oftentimes clients find me when they have left a partnership, whether they were legally married or not. They're done with that relationship. They're in the transition phase between closing that chapter and starting a new chapter while having children together. So the separation alone doesn't mean that's the end of the relationship. It just means there's a shift in the relationship. The dynamics unfortunately continue because the people are the same unless they decide to make some choices and go through a personal development journey, right?
Yeah.
So you're still dealing with the same dynamics, but the relationship just has shifted a little bit. And so that's what I mean by post-divorce and co-parenting. And so specifically with the co-parenting, now we have to focus on our child's going to be in two different homes with two different people with two different sets of values. How are we going to navigate this? How am I going to mind my feelings about the other parent and what the other parent does in their home versus my values and my feelings and my views as a parent, you know? And then also on top of that, how do we take care of this child's well-being?
Yeah.
So there's so many layers there. And so that's where the divorce and co-parenting comes in, the coaching for that, because I think it's really important that the parents get all the help that they can get.
Yeah. Are you a yes to all of that? Agreed. It's really a time for a family to be supported. Do you work with just one of the parents, one of the partners, or are you working with both at the same time? How does that work? And how does it work when they're not seeing eye to eye, which I'm guessing is probably the majority of the time, right? In those very vulnerable scenarios.
Yeah. I will tell you that 99% of my clients are high conflict co-parenting clients. So I only work with one of them. Usually there's only one of them that think that there's a better way to do this than to be fighting all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the person that seeks out the help, right? The support. How do I do this without being upset all the time? You know? And so I do only work with one side, which is fine. I really do think that that's enough.
Yeah.
If you learn the tools and you implement them, that can be enough to change the dynamics, really. And so so I work with the one side and it is often high conflict. And so by them being able to at least just work on themselves and learn the tools, it influences the other person's behavior. It doesn't control the other person's behavior, but it definitely has an impact.
Yeah. Girl, you'd be a billionaire if you could get it where they could control the other person's behavior.
I'd be doing that in my own life.
Yeah, wow. And so I guess before we do dive in, how did you find your way into this? I'm also curious about, your business's name is Empowered Outlier. Tell me a little bit about both of those things. How did you get here?
So, how did I get here? Wow. I've traveled a long way.
In the podcast version.
Okay, so I am a former foster youth. I don't think a lot of people know that. So I am a former foster youth, and there are so many stats stacked against foster youth being successful.
Yeah.
Like 50% of foster youth don't graduate high school. And if those that graduate high school, they don't make it through their first year of college, and all these different stats. And so that's where Outlier comes in. Because for me, I feel like I've been the outlier of my life. I've been the outlier of all the stats that said I was not going to accomplish all the things that I have accomplished. And so that word, I know for some people, like in stats, outliers, oh, that's just a data set that, it's a blip, it's an error. But for me, it's like, no, it's the resilience. For me, that is resilience. And so that's why I chose it as the name of my coaching practice, Empowered Outlier, the resilience part of that.
Wow.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. It takes it shifts it from that idea of like, you're right. We think about that outlier, like it's an anomaly. We can just like, it's not even part of the bell curve that we need to focus on. But if you are the outlier, that is your reality. That is the universe. And so what do you do with that? And it kind of goes back to this word that you were talking about, agency. What do I do being out here? And how do I create the resiliency and not be one of the statistics from foster care? Wow.
Yeah. And, in true to form, that's who I am, like, as a person. Like,
Yeah.
I constantly challenge myself. I constantly challenge myself to pivot in careers. I've pivoted in careers multiple times, challenge myself to try things that maybe others think is impossible or crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't limit myself. And so I really do embody that whole word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so great. And then how did you find your way into this particular niche of coaching?
By my own personal experience. So I've been married and divorced twice. My first marriage was an easy divorce. There was no toxicity. I was too young. We had different values. Once I had my baby, I realized, this is not what I want to do. This is not how I want to raise my child. And we had a very amicable divorce. We
Yeah.
had very amicable co-parenting. And then I got into another relationship, and that relationship lasted nearly 10 years. And that relationship was highly toxic. That relationship, I will dare say, was abusive, emotionally abusive. And it was really challenging to leave that relationship because of the beliefs that I had at that point. And at that point, my belief was I will not separate my family again, no matter what.
Yeah.
That no matter what was what kept me there through all the different things that transpired over those 10 years. And so because of that, it felt like if I left that relationship, I was failing my family. I was failing myself. The second divorce, are you kidding? The shame that comes with that. And And so I finally decided that my sanity and my well-being were more important than keeping the family together. Because yes, keeping the family together was one thing, but everybody was unhappy. It wasn't just me. It's something that trickles through everybody. Even if the children don't actually hear you say things, they see you, how you carry yourself. They see if you're crying. They see if you're upset. They can sense the tension in the room,
Yeah.
and they internalize all these things, right? And so
Absolutely.
this was way before I started my personal development journey. This is way before I found coaching. And so once I decided to do that, it took me 2.5 years, well over $100,000 in attorney fees to get divorced. It was a super high conflict divorce, high conflict co-parenting for the first, I would say, 5 years.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Post divorce. So
Yes.
this is wow.
Yes. Yes. So once I got divorced, or through the divorce, because it took 2.5 years. So 2 years after filing for divorce, I was still not happy. I was still really an emotional roller coaster. I was still upset. I was still mad.
Yeah.
And I told myself, I found myself thinking one day, and I said, what is going on? I already got rid of the problem, quote
Right.
unquote. Why am I not happy? What is going on here? And at that time, I was VP of a manufacturing company in Santa Ana. So I had a really high level job, high demand, worked all hours, commuted from my home in Corona to Orange County here in California. And so it was an hour commute in the morning, hour commute in the evening. And it was just go, 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 go. No time to stop and breathe, right?
Oh.
And so I told myself, I said, you know what? I need to get some help. I need to figure out why I'm so mad all the time. Because I could see my kids experiencing that. They weren't happy. They were upset. I was upset. I mean, we were financially pretty well off considering the
Yeah.
divorce, but still something had to give. So I heard on a podcast something about emotional regulation, and so I was like, you know what? I'm signing up for that.
What is that? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's where it all started. I started applying those tools. Like I just jumped in, and for 90 days straight, I did all the exercises. I did all the coaching that entailed that program, that was included in that program. And immediately I saw changes in the workplace, how I was as a boss.
Yeah.
I hate to admit this, but as a boss, I was very controlling. I was a micromanager, and I had no
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
I didn't realize that my personal life had felt so uncontrollable that I overcompensated in the workplace.
Yeah.
That coaching session alone, where I made that connection, was super painful for me.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm that person.
Right. Oh, wow. The power of coaching too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember coming away from that session like my whole body like experienced the depth of what that meant.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now that I know this, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
And that's where, agency and responsibility, right? Like
Yes.
now I know.
Now I
I was
know. What am
walking
I?
blindly, but now I know.
Yes. Yes. That's what we call conscious incompetence, right? Like now I am aware of this thing. What am I going to do with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So things started to change in the workplace. I called a team meeting. I made some changes. I allowed people to make mistakes. I allowed them to learn. I gave them my time, my undivided attention, specific times of the day so they could have my support when they needed it, but not
Yeah.
without first having tried to fix the problems themselves. That's where I had not been able to do. I would always jump in and save, jump in and save.
Fix it. Yep. Yep.
Yep. So I totally shifted that. And, that changed my relationship with everyone in the workplace in a very positive way.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to make a real difference? Become a certified professional coach with Empower Coaching and Training. Our next CPEC cohort, accredited by the International Coaching Federation and offered in partnership with Oregon State University, starts February 28th. Spots are limited. Learn more at yesempower.com.
I bet. Yeah. And so did that start to roll over then into the personal life and into parenting and into self?
Yes. So it first started rolling over to like me personally with like my children, right? There was so much, trauma that they experienced from the second divorce. Because it was so high conflict, there's so many things that happened in between that. So they both needed additional support, both of my children. I have two. And so what really happened, I think the biggest thing that influenced my relationship with them was that I started being able to regulate my emotions. I started being able to tap into not being so emotionally reactive. I started noticing when I was short fused or triggered and pausing there before interacting with them was critical.
Yeah. Retraining your brain and your responses. Wow.
Yeah. And then that translated into the co-parenting. Whenever I would get a text, as soon as I saw the name, oh,
Right.
that shifted from like, oh, to I'll look at that later.
Right. Yeah. Agency again.
Yeah.
I don't have to be tethered to this thing. I will look
Yes.
on my timeline. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I'll look at that later when my kids are not in front of me, when I have had some time to maybe take a couple of breaths, go for a walk, and then come and see what it's about. Because
Yeah.
when you're like in a high conflict parenting situation, it seems like every text or every communication is going to be conflict. But that's not true. But we're training our brains to believe that.
Right.
We're
Yes.
preparing. We're like hyper vigilant, or we're creating narratives ahead of time. So
Yeah.
we're like amping up our nervous system to be reactive.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Wow. And so, yeah, I can absolutely see then your journey into then creating this space for other people as they move through this really these high conflict, high vulnerability, life altering, really. I mean, for so many people, it's beyond just finding a different house or finding a different flow of the family. It's like all of these from the person that knows you best and now seems to be working against you. How do we navigate that? And we were talking before, we started recording, and what you had said something, and I really loved it, which is that it's really so many boundaries. We really learn about our relationship with boundary setting and how to live into those and what happens when we don't. And that idea about when I'm going to check the text, it's a great example. This is a boundary I'm setting for myself and for who I want to be. And yeah.
Correct.
Well, tell me a little bit. We're kind of, heading in this direction. So tell me from a neuroscience perspective, what is happening in the nervous system? I mean, you started to talk about that already, but, we're kind of amped up. We're waiting for this text. And when someone goes through just a divorce, what's happening typically in that nervous system? And especially when there's ongoing contact through co-parenting. And I'm going to just assume that that is a high conflict type of scenario, since you're saying, I think you said 90%. Is that what you said that you're working with? Yeah.
Correct.
So what is happening from a neuroscience perspective for most folks as they navigate this?
So the nervous system is dysregulated and the amygdala is activated, right? So if the amygdala is activated, we lose access to our prefrontal cortex. And so we're not thinking logically. We're thinking from emotion, from reaction. Our judgment is clouded. We are physically upset. There's all these responses, bodily responses. Maybe we are red in the face. Our heart is racing. Our palms are sweaty.
Yeah.
And when all these things are happening all at once, we cannot think clearly. And when we're not thinking clearly, we're not making the best decisions. Yeah. So this is where it's really important to really be able to implement some sort of grounding technique. The quickest one is like the stop, right? Just stop, take a deep breath, take it all in, reassure yourself that you are safe, ground yourself by naming 5 things around you, do the sensory touch, fingertips, your thumb and your index finger.
Yeah.
Whatever grounding technique that you can tap into is going to be super important because you want to be able to shift from your amygdala being activated to being calm and being able to access your prefrontal cortex so that you can actually think clearly and make a good decision or make the best decision.
Yeah. And be in alignment with who you want to be as you navigate that, right? So if we're asking like, how do you want to be as you navigate this high conflict scenario? Probably most people are saying calm, intentional, right? And when we're not using that prefrontal cortex and it's that survival brain, we are out of alignment with those things. It is literally fight, flight, freeze.
Yes. And it does not help. And it does not help because, when you have children, you can go file a petition at court at any time to make any changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to be a high conflict person or someone who is dysregulated most of the time and really reactionary, creating more conflict, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's understandable because of the situation. However, in the court's eyes, and the judge's eyes, lawyer's eyes, it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I love that you add that piece of it. It's not just about my personal feeling or action or what I'm doing, but if that is impacting this governing body who governs my relationship or my, time I get with my children or custody, being sure that we're putting our best foot forward for those folks. Yeah. Gosh. And so, I think it's kind of obvious, but I think it's important to speak to it. Why does divorce so often shake our sense of identity and safety and future? And even like when it's the right decision, right? Like when and it is time to go and it's the right thing, it's still just a world rocker for most folks. And so just give us a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, it's a complete, you're basically shedding your old identity and creating a new one.
Yeah.
And even when you go after growth that requires that growth that is going to be positive for you, like even shifting careers, you're shifting, going from one industry to another. It's painful because you're going from comfort to something you don't know, even though at the other end of that, there's going to be success. It's going to mean so many great things for you and your family.
Yeah.
But it's different. You've never done it. You want to do it, but it is still scary. And it's like you have to continuously recommit to that new goal that you have.
Yeah.
So you're becoming a completely different person from the person that you've been for however many years. Imagine how many years it took you to become who you are today. And
Yeah.
then to go and decide, I'm going to change who I am. I'm going to change my life. That's no easy feat.
Right. It's such a great way to frame it. Yeah. Look how many years it's taken to become who I am right now. Yeah. And I think with identity, I mean, I think that is so important because with divorce, and it obviously it looks 1,000 different ways. So, but if we just kind of take this general slice of what it looks like often, it's the shift of identity. It's also a shift in family, who I call family. Like my mother-in-law might no longer be my relative or be my friend even, or somebody who acknowledges me, or how we've done holidays for all these years looks completely different. Or, I mean, just so much. You're right. It's not just this leaving of a relationship. It's like a leaving of me to go find this new version of me that has probably been like knocking at the back door, hey, we want more over here. Yeah.
It takes women an average of 7 times. They try 7 times to leave before they actually do commit to leave.
Wow.
It's not an easy decision.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And then wrapping kids into that and their emotions and their thoughts and little hearts and all those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what nervous system patterns do you most often see people getting stuck in after divorce? Like, hyper-vigilant, emotional flooding, or numbing, or I think about like stonewalling. How do those show up then in co-parenting?
Hypervigilance, I think, is one of the most prevalent ones because in high conflict, it's almost like you have to be a step ahead. You have to be able to predict what's going to happen. I'll give you an example. For the longest time, I've had to not plan anything for at least an hour to an hour and a half after exchange times because I know that person is going to be late and they will not give me notice. They will not give me notice.
Wow.
So what do you do with that? Do you go back to court and compel them to show up on time?
Right.
Do you call your attorney and tell them to be here on time? Or they're going to have to give me back my time with my kid? Or do you just plan for it,
Right.
and just adjust? Like, how much time do you want to devote to all of this, to making sure that things go smoothly? How much time do you want to devote to hypervigilance? How much time do you want to devote to wanting to control how they show up versus, okay, this is their pattern.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to plan my day accordingly. And if they
Yeah.
show up on time, great. I have an extra hour for myself. We have an extra hour together.
Yeah.
See, that shift is just so much more empowering than being upset about them being late all the time and not communicating.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to level up how you lead at work and at home? Empower Coaching and Training brings brain-based coaching, mindfulness tools, and real-world strategies you can share with those you serve and live with. Get started now. Visit us at yesempower.com.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's going to be a couple times a week and for a lot of years, depending on the age of the children, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. Wow. How did you get there? How did you get to that place? I mean, I'm going to ask more about tools and things, but was there a moment that acceptance happened? Okay, there is.
I
Tell
remember
me.
it very vividly. Okay.
Yeah.
That moment where acceptance happened. I was going through my second divorce, and my first ex-husband had just moved from LA County to like San Bernardino County, right? And so we had to change our halfway point location because of that change, because of his move. And so we're going back and forth. This is the halfway point. No, this is the halfway point. This is the halfway point. Nope, my map says this. And I'm like, well, your map is wrong.
Right. Clearly.
And, and then at the same time, I'm dealing with my divorce. And I'm sitting in my car and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Am I really going back and forth over like half a mile?
This is not about the distance, actually, like slowing
Yes.
down to see
Yes.
that. Wow.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let that go. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll meet there. You got it. Done. And from then on, I started seeing that come up more and more. And really, it's about creating the awareness. What is actually happening? How am I contributing to this?
Yeah.
What can I accept and move on with? And then, where are the true battles? That is not a true battle.
Yeah.
Right. So that's when I realized that. And that's when I started putting it into practice more, when I could make that connection.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what is this really going to matter?
Yeah.
Especially like when other things come up, like I have something planned with my daughter and, the other parent decides they heard about it and they want to sabotage it. And instead they plan something for the same weekend. So I have to decide, okay, what's going to happen here? Is my daughter going to have a good time, whether she goes with that parent or me? Yes. If that's fine. Cool. You know what? I'm going to budget this money for something else.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What I'm hearing you do is really kind of rise above the immediate issue and think about what's the long term. What am I really wanting? I'm wanting a good weekend with my daughter, right? Or I'm wanting a halfway point with some peace. And so if I rise above that, there are really multiple ways, but we get so focused on this, you use the word battle, which I think is so important. It really is. There needs to be a winner and a loser in this damn half a mile, right? And like, I know I'm right because I can do the math and 50. And so really rising above that and thinking, what is the cost of this quote unquote win?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because the cost is our health. The cost is our well-being. Our cost is the capacity we have when our children come home later that day.
Yeah.
If we're completely depleted mentally, emotionally, physically because of these arguments that are not getting anywhere, what does that leave us to offer to our children? And I think that's where the focus really needs to be.
Yeah.
How can I preserve as much of my personal capacity to really be here for my child when they come back?
Yeah. Yeah. So it leads me to just ask, how much of your coaching is on this topic right here, this idea? I would imagine this is mind-blowing for people and also something that you're having to revisit almost with every, you're like, okay, I can let go of the half a mile. And then like that blankety blank is an hour and a half late. And now I'm going into battle here. How much of your emphasis as a coach is on this concept right here?
I would say 80% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 80% of it. And then I think the other 20% is managing our beliefs about the other parent. Because everything we believe about the other parent, all the labels we create for the other parent, create this narrative in ourselves that then influence how we react to them or how we interact with them.
Yeah.
And as long as they're a monster or this big bad wolf in our head, which they may very well be, but it's not going to be serving us to show up in the best way we can.
Yeah.
Minding those beliefs about them is going to be super important.
So what would you recommend? They are a big bad wolf, but we want to mind that because we don't want that story to own us. What do you recommend to people? What do we call these? What do we call them?
They're imperfect humans. We all are.
Yeah.
We're not perfect either. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're imperfect. It has to be neutral. It has to be neutral.
Whew. That's
a
big
hard
work.
one.
Yeah.
That took me years to get there. It does take time. It took me a lot of years to get there. But once you're there, when things come up, it's almost laughable. Like, oh, there he goes again trying to do this. It's a joke. It's like, I have this shield now, right?
Yes.
I'm protected.
Yeah.
I'm protected by my boundaries. I'm protected by my mindfulness. I'm protected by my values. I'm protected by the trust that I have in myself to show up in the best version of myself because I know the tools now. I know this game. And whenever something like that comes out of the blue, I just laugh. Like, oh, it's so cute. He's crying again.
Look at the struggle for power. Look at this. I see it again. Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's fascinating. The way that you're describing this, I think about it. I mean, you said this in the beginning and it's just kind of clicking for me now, which is that this work is specific to the process of divorce, but it's also this unfolding of this new you.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a superpower to be able to let go, to see, and then to let go of stories, and then to create that neutrality about the person. That's a superpower and applicable in politics. It's applicable in my community. It's so
in the workplace.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure you are getting people very interested in this. I know lots of people right now and in the past in my own world who have gone through some high conflict divorce, and just the tools, getting good people in their lives. And there's so many people already in their lives, the attorneys and all the judges and but to have somebody who's saying, I'm here to partner with you, and we will unfold this, not as like an outcome, not as here's a judge and a jury and a statement, but like as a continuous growth of who you are as a person that will unfold for a lifetime. Wow.
Yeah.
So with that, what is one simple brain-based practice that you teach? You mentioned, kind of the breathing or the touching of the fingers, that you teach clients to help them pause between that trigger and the response they feel when, it's activated in the many activation moments that co-parenting can offer.
The most valuable one is just the 90-second pause.
Yeah.
Just pause. Just walk away. Don't respond. Put the phone down. Do something else.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you could do for yourself and for your children and for that whole co-parenting relationship.
Yeah.
Do not respond right away. That has single-handedly helped me the most in my co-parenting relationships with both of my exes. And I realized that sometimes there are going to be like urgent situations where maybe if you're doing an exchange, maybe they did text you and tell you that they're going to be late. Maybe in that specific situation, you make an exception. But in everything else, when you're at work, when you're driving, when you're doing your own thing and your child is either with you or they're well into their visitation with the other parent, like it can wait. It can totally wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there magic to the 90 seconds? Why 90 seconds?
I think it just gives us time to think about, okay, I wonder what they're texting about, or, just gives you time to just process what's going on with you first.
Yeah.
You're checking internally is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Taking account of where am I? Am I triggered? Am I regulated at this point? Am I going to be okay to respond?
Yeah.
I think that's where the power is right there.
Yeah. What are my values?
Okay.
What do I?
If you're not okay to respond, don't respond.
Yeah.
But you got to check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Those check-ins with yourself are critical.
Yeah. I ask about the 90 seconds because I think I might misquote this number, but I think it was 90 seconds. I was reading a couple years ago about, so we have a trigger and we have a thought and then we have an emotion about that thought, right? And so that emotion, the neurological process of that fear or anger or whatever, it's like that it lasts for 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then that physiological process is done, but we're not done with it. So it's like we keep pushing the button because I can't believe he did it. She said that she would, and we just keep pressing that button and keep reiterating that feeling of anger over and over and over again. And so the ability to I wonder, if we like pause it for 90 seconds and we put our attention elsewhere, it's like we feel it. And now let me release that so that I can get to the part of the brain that helps me actually process this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how do you help clients rebuild their sense of self and self-trust after divorce? And specifically, what I'm asking is within the context of grief. How do I feel the grief of all of this and rebuild while swimming in a pool of grief and navigating all of this?
Yes. So definitely, I think I would say in most high conflict situations that I'd highly recommend that you work with a trauma therapist specifically,
Mm-hmm.
because they have a specific set of skills and tools that can help with processing the trauma that has happened. That in conjunction with a coach who can help you your week to week, your day to day, your actionable steps that you can actually take. I think it's like the
Mm-hmm.
best support system that you can have,
Yeah.
because the therapist or clinician can take that therapeutic part that you really need. And then the coach can take that practical, logical, what now? What can I do today?
Yeah.
Approach. Those two together, I think it's just such powerhouse support system.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because I can imagine it would be a moment where, with all that grief and all that pain, we could revert to old skills and old stories. And yeah,
And on top of that, I think, when we've been in a high conflict relationship for so long, we've completely abandoned ourselves in a way where we're no longer connected to our body, where we've ignored anything that has been happening to us physically and emotionally for so long that once we try to tap back into it, it's really challenging, that we can't
Mhm.
even name the emotion that we're feeling. And that's some of the work that we start out with. Okay, let's look at the emotions wheel. Where in my body am I feeling this? It's really
Yeah.
important to be able to identify those things to understand what is going on with us. And so I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time at the very beginning working on just that. What is going on in my body? What am I feeling? Can I name it?
Yep. Just that
That's just the very
somatic
beginning.
work,
Yeah.
coming back into me, getting to know me and my responses. And yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really hard for some people. It's really challenging when you've ignored yourself for so long.
Yeah.
But really, I think that's where it starts. And that's when you start creating the awareness and you start processing, okay, now I can tap into my mindfulness tools because now I know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. That it leads me to how long do you typically work with somebody? I imagine it would vary quite a bit as divorces do. How long are you typically involved with a person?
I say typically 6 months.
Okay.
6 months. Although, we build a relationship afterward. We stay in touch afterwards. But in a
Yeah.
coaching relationship, we stay for about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weekly, or does that vary?
Weekly.
Yeah. That's
Weekly with additional support in between.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. And every bit of it is so important, supporting people in that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
especially like if they're still going through the whole court system thing, if they're trying to go to mediation to establish parenting, if they're having challenges, with the representation, those are all things that we got to work through around our mindset around, okay, this is the truth. What can I do? You
Yeah.
know, owning the responsibility of how can they continue to move forward despite, all of the other people who are, working for them, maybe not showing up as they'd like them to.
Yeah. 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 Wow. All right. We're nearing the end here. I have a couple more questions, but this is so amazing. Such just deep, profound work in people's lives. How does the inner healing work of, you're working with one parent, they're probably, maybe the other parent is working with a coach and a therapist, maybe not. You kind of framed it up as you were saying, typically one parent thinks this kind of work is important and one parent doesn't. So how does this healing work of just one parent and this actually benefit the kids and their nervous system and their emotional level during this time period?
There's been a big push probably in the last, I would say at least 10 years for 50-50 co-parenting, where the kids are split, equal time with both parents versus having one primary parent. And I have a lot of opinions about that. But what I will say about that is that if you have one parent who is demonstrating emotional resilience, emotional stability, the tools that they need to regulate themselves, the children get to see that 50% of the time. And that's a big part of the time. Versus when they go to the other parent who may be dysregulated, who may not be really connected to the children. And this happens a lot. But when the children start to see it at least 50% of the time, they start to recognize the healthy patterns and the unhealthy patterns. And they get drawn more to the healthy patterns where there's safety and security and being allowed to show their emotions. There's so much power in that. And, when they get older, when they're in their teens, they start to decide, you know what, I want to stay in the home that's healthy, the one where I can actually communicate what is bothering me, the one where I can actually have an emotional breakdown if I'm overstimulated, and I'm not going to be punished for it, things like that. I think that's where it really, really, really matters is I'm going to take care of myself as a parent. I'm going to model these behaviors to my children. I'm going to show them what it feels like to be in a home where it's okay to have a bad day. We learn how to communicate capacity to each other. Brene Brown talks about this in one of her podcast episodes. Her family communicates, I'm at this percent, I'm at that percent, who can pick up the slack, right? And the same thing. You learn the same things and you do the same things in these relationships with your children, right? And so when the children learn that in the one household that is doing all the work, they take those tools with them somewhere else. They don't just leave them there. And so when things are happening in the other home, they all of a sudden know, oh, well, mom does this when there's conflict. So maybe I can do this. My daughter has picked up on the deep breathing, sleeping meditations, taking a bath at night to relax, all those things. And I didn't actually have to say, hey, this is what you do when this happens.
Right.
They just pay attention. They internalize these things. They pay attention and they copy your behavior. So whatever behaviors you're modeling that are healthy habits, hopefully healthy habits, but as healthy as they can be, because like I said, we're all imperfect human beings. They'll learn it and they'll start implementing it. They'll take it with them and it makes an impact. It makes that stay at the other parent's house that much easier.
Yeah. It made me think of when you said that they're watching, they're listening. This morning, I was just driving my daughter to work and she was saying, I was going to work. She was going to school. And she was saying, she was talking about hairdos. She's 13. So hair is a big thing right now. So she was saying like, I know whenever you wear your hair in two braids that it's going to be kind of stern at first, but then we're going somewhere fun, and I was like, that's so fascinating to be seen like that. And it is true. Whenever we're going camping and we're going on a road trip, I'm like, I want my hair up out of my way and it's not going to get, all tangly in the back. And I'm also like, we got to go. So here's your timeline. You got to pack your bag. You got to do the things. And then we're going. And it just spoke to me of like, whoa, is amazing. And also this like, oh God, what else do you notice about my moods and my patterns? And so I think, you spoke to that, like they're watching. We don't have to explicitly sit down and say, here's the tools. And maybe we do, maybe we don't, but at least if we're practicing them and authentically living into them and they're witnessing us go through a very painful, confusing process and take care of ourselves and speak kindly and apologize when we mess up and do all these things, those lessons are transferring. And it makes me think of those same children probably witnessed you do all the other behaviors, not care for yourself during the marriage, right? They probably saw you pretend to be happy or pretend to do something else or placate or whatever it is. And oh, they're just so wise, they're just, yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, it is pretending. And in a way, it's like we're almost like creating this facade, right? We're lying to them.
Yeah.
And children know when you're lying. They're very smart. And so when you finally like separate and you have the two different households, it's like, okay, what I was seeing and what I was feeling was true.
Yeah.
They get validated.
Yes.
There was something going on.
Yeah. I can trust my intuition. I can trust
Yes.
that gut check. Yeah. Well, if someone is listening to this, Delma, and I'm sure that people are who are in the thick of this or heading towards it, what's one thing you would most want them to remember or practice this week?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Sit in silence and really ask yourself, what do I want to come out of this?
Yeah.
How do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? And trust that.
And we'll put it in the show notes for sure, but where can people find you and connect with you?
My website is empoweredoutlier.com/links. You'll find all my links there. But I'm also on Instagram. My handle is @empoweredoutlier.
Okay, excellent. And again, we'll put all that in the show notes as well. And I was, again, exploring your page. There's so many resources, and Delma's been featured in magazines and other podcasts, and those links are also on her website. So you can go a little bit deeper and then, of course, schedule some time directly with her as well. So thank you, Delma. I appreciate you so much and just the way you're supporting families in this journey. It's a big one.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired, where neuroscience meets real-life change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps people discover the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change. While you're leaving that 5-star review, please also subscribe and share an episode with a friend. Remember, the way you think shapes the way you live. Every intentional thought, every mindful choice rewires your brain and your life. So go live intentionally, live thoughtfully, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to transform your world. Until next time, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training. Stay curious, stay empowered, and keep rewiring for real change.
Every family has challenges, and every parent deserves support. At Empower Coaching and Training, youth and parenting coach Jasmine Chandler helps parents and young people find clarity, connection, and practical tools that make a difference. Visit yesempower.com to connect with Jasmine and explore our team of incredible coaches today.